Hey, what's up, you guys? So this is a video dedicated to the memory of Stan Lee. This is a video that I've been wanting to do for a while, ever since he passed. I wanted to do it the day after he passed, or maybe even the week after. I know like people all over the world were making videos about him. I know that mine probably won't even scratch the surface, but that's not what matters. What matters is my thoughts and feelings on a a comic legend, somebody who changed the comic genre as we know it today. So I'm going to try not to make this video too long, but I'm just going to give my thoughts and opinions, my feelings. It's officially 1 month since Stan Lee passed away. So, some of my stories you guys already know. For those of you who've watched my videos, I, you know, I didn't really get started on comic books that early. I mean, one of the first comic books my mom brought me when I was a kid was the X-Men. And the funny thing about that story is I didn't really read it right away. But then X-Men the animated series came on TV, and that was like it for me. It changed things. Spider-Man animated series definitely changed things for me. As a matter of fact, because of that show, that's what made me a Spider-Man fan. When I was a kid, my parents watched the Christopher Reeve Superman, and Tim Burton Batman. So that's how I latched onto them as a kid. But I didn't really get into comic books until I got a little bit older. And I didn't really recognize who Stan Lee was until I believe my first introduction to Stan Lee was on Spider-Man the animated series. It was the farewell episode. It was the last episode. It was a good episode too. Definitely highly recommend it. You should definitely check it out. And it was a funny scene with him, and Spider-Man came into his office, and Stan Lee was pitching his ideas, about the Hulk. He's like, what if we made his skin green? Whoever he was talking to on the phone. And then Spider-Man comes to his office and he said, I'm looking for somebody named Stan Lee. And, so, it was a funny little thing, funny little bit. So that was the first Stan Lee cameo that I got introduced to. And ever since, my my interest became piqued in who Stan Lee was. And to me, I mean, I know to a lot of people, Stan Lee was their inspiration. That definitely speaks high volumes to me because, you know, I'm not going to get into my whole history, and background and everything, but I had kind of a rough childhood, and he inspired me, in a lot of ways, not just with his comic book character, but not only his comic book characters and creations, but just who he was as a person. I never had the fortune of meeting him. I always wanted to meet him, but I never did, unfortunately. And just seeing all his interviews, watching just how much positivity that he had, and that he shared to the world, and his outlook on life was very, very unique, and very rare. And especially in today's age, people don't really look at the world how the way how Stan Lee did. As seeing the world as how, it can be better. If people are willing to change and do better. And that really spoke volumes in his comic books that he wrote. He even says so in a lot of his interviews. He didn't believe in bigotry, racism, and different things that was going on in the world then at that time, and even now. And these characters that I have up on display right here, it's just a small fraction of the genius and imagination that he created. He, him, Steve Ditko, and others. They created this new world that just changed the comic book genre forever. And what I found funny about Stan Lee was that he didn't want to be a comic book writer. Like he wanted to be like a serious a novelist. And he just took on this job, just to have a job. And it turned into, unbeknownst to him, it turned into a career, not just a career, but a legacy. And I was very sad when he passed, but it was also a celebration, 95 years that he lived on this planet, which a lot of us, I'm just being honest, a lot of us will not live to see that. And for the people who do, they are very blessed, and fortunate. And I think Stan Lee definitely knew that. He didn't take anything for granted. He cherished everything he had. He loved what he had. He always tried to inspire and do more. And he was just one of those rare kind of people who just had this unbelievable, uncanny positivity, and it was just infectious. Whether you knew him personally, or not. And I think that's why, his passing, it touched and hurt the comic book community as a whole. And even for people who don't read comic books, because of all his cameos, and all of his properties. And he just has such a genuine love for his characters. Like, he loved what he did. He loved his characters, and it showed. It just wasn't a front. It wasn't a put on or anything like that. Like, he genuinely loved these wonderful creations that he himself, along with others, have created. Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, they were the foundation of what Marvel was, and still is to this day. Their influence is just highly across the globe right now. Basically almost damn near every movie that come out has Stan Lee's fingerprints all over it. Like every Marvel movie, whether it be Fox or Sony or Universal, because some of the rights are all over the place, which, we all know what happened with the Fox there recently, so a lot of excitement there. But, his staple is just all over these wonderful characters that he created, and he created this fictitious world with a lot of realism, and also his characters live in real states, and countries, something that DC didn't want to do. Marvel changed the game on that. A lot of these characters are from real states, nationalities, and everything. He just brought a sense of realism and relatability to his characters. He didn't want them to be perfect, superpowered human beings. I mean, don't get me wrong. We all love Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and all those characters. But Stan Lee brought this realism and groundbreaking reality of his superheroes being, yes, good people, but flawed human beings with real problems. From Spider-Man to the Hulk to Iron Man, Black Panther, Captain America, even Thor. And Thor is like literally a god. But even he has some flaws, like there's not one single character on the Marvel roster that doesn't have a problem or a flaw. And that's where the comic book genre just changed forever, and it changed for the better. Because who knows, if Stan Lee never took that step and did what he did, who knows, comic books may have died out, or maybe not, but it might not be what it is today. And even DC recognizes that point, that Stan Lee's staple on what he did with comic books changed everything. It changed how we viewed all these characters. It's why that when you go to an Avengers movie, you're so excited and so emotional over it, because you feel for these characters. Like Thanos is a CGI character, but we felt his emotion, we felt his drive, and that wouldn't be possible. None of this would be possible without Stan the Man Lee. So I don't want this video to go on for too long, so I just wanted to send my love to Stan Lee, his family, his daughter, which I heard some not flattering things about, but we don't know, because we don't know her personally. And whatever problems that they may or may not had, that was still her father. So, I just wanted to make this video. Maybe I'm self-indulging myself, I don't know, but I just want to say that thank you, Stan Lee. Thank you for this incredible world that you have created. And I'm also very happy that he lived to see his creations make it where they are today. So thank you, Stan Lee. Your legacy will live on forever, and you changed things forever, and you will never be forgotten. Thank you.